Good afternoon, everyone. Can I just check that everyone can hear me okay? Fantastic. All right, we're just going to wait a few more minutes to make sure everyone can get in, and then we'll start with today's presentation. All right, let's kick it off. Well, firstly, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar from Ingram Micro on Autodesk policies. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days, and we hope that we'll deliver some useful information for you to take away. For your information, we are recording the session today, so we'll send out a copy of the recording after the presentation has finished. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to post them up, and we'll go through those questions at the end of the session. All right, so today we're going to be talking about two of the main Autodesk policies that seem to be circulating at the moment, being the Coterm Policy and the transition to named user 2-for-1 trade-in policy. After that, we're just going to take you through a few tips and tricks that we've come up with, and mostly in answer to a lot of the questions that we get from our partners. So we'll just kick it off. First, I'd like to introduce everyone. We have Alison Macklin, who's our National Account Manager for Autodesk. We have Misha Eventusov, who's the Ingram Micro National Business Manager for Autodesk. And myself, Jason, I'm the National Product Manager for Autodesk. And Alison and I will be taking you through the presentation today. On today's agenda, as I said, we're going to go through the Coterm policy, some recent changes to the Coterm policy, the 2-for-1 policy, and the timeline and recent changes for that policy, a guide on how to access my software, and a guide on getting the required information for selling and quoting the premium plan. All right, so looking at the Coterm policy has been around for a while now. It basically allows organizations to manage when their renewals come due. So they can pick an existing contract as an example, and then align everything to that one contract. What this will provide to the end customers is the ability to better budget. So rather than having renewals spread across multiple dates throughout the year, they'll be able to, with a predictable time frame, budget for the renewal of all their licenses in one go. It also delivers an enhanced customer experience because instead of worrying about managing renewals and assigning software, it's all done at one particular point in time. It also means there's a lot less likelihood that licenses will be missed throughout the year because there may be a single license renewing on a date that's different to everyone else. For our partners, this can deliver fewer but larger contracts. So it allows you to actually talk more strategically with your customers around their contracts and their services, rather than transactionally around, oh, you've got a renewal due throughout the year. So you'll be able to more focus on their business and have more strategic customer conversations. It also lowers the cost of sale by doing one single transaction rather than having multiple transactions spread throughout the year. So we've had a number of changes that recently affect the Coterm policy, or I suppose a number of aspects of the Coterm policy that have been affected. One of the questions that we get quite consistently is, can we coterm contracts that are different term lengths? So in other words, an annual and a 3-year contract, can we coterm them? The answer is yes, now we can. And what that means is that we'll be aligning the end dates to a particular calendar day rather than a year. So as an example, if a contract expires on the 31st of August in 2023, we could align a 1-year contract so that it expires the 31st of August 2021, and then it will be renewed in 22, 23 on the same calendar day. So it'll allow you to keep that calendar day as a consistent date for all the contracts. And as I've said, aligning the end dates doesn't require the same term length. So you can certainly have different term lengths aligned to the same calendar day within a year. The other thing this affects is in relation to multi-user 2-for-1 trade-in. The policy has recently changed on that, and I'll talk about that next. But previously, if they had extended a contract, then they were ineligible to then take a 2-for-1 trade-in contract at the end of that contract term or into that contract extension. With the changes to the 2-for-1 policy, it means that they will now be allowed to take advantage of the 2-for-1 trade-in at any point along the renewal path, as long as that is taken up before the 6th of August 2023, which is when the 2-for-1 trade-in contract policy expires. So we'll jump straight into the multi-user trade-in changes. I'm sure you're all familiar with this, but we'll just go through the multi-user trade-in policy again. It's part of the transition to named user program, and it's essentially shifting the way that licenses are managed through Autodesk. It's essentially moving to a named user experience where customers are better able to understand their usage, and it's shifting away from the multi-user or network-based licensing. In relation to the benefits to the customers can definitely see their data and determine in the future which people in their team need the software and don't need the software, how they can, assign that software out. Because it's a one-to-one alignment with an end user, there's no more checking in and checking out software. So that user will always have the software available whenever they need it, rather than having to wait for someone else to check the software back in so they can get a copy of it. It also enables other features such as 2-factor authentication. So it's designed to keep your data safe. From a partner perspective, it's definitely a good way to have a conversation with your customers and talking about the 2-for-1 transition policy and being able to cross-sell products like premium support as well. It also allows you to have conversations around upselling to an industry collection at the time of the 2-for-1 trade-in offer. It also simplifies the support requirement because we're no longer using serial numbers or product keys to activate software. It's all done by the sign-in method. And it allows you to upsell professional services if your organization offers that to help them transition away from network-based licensing onto named user licensing as well. There's a number of benefits there from the partner's perspective as well. So it's been going on since August 2020, really, was when the policy was originally, I suppose, most of the important parts were announced. So we'll have a look at the timeline and see what's happened, what's coming up, and what the recent changes are. In April 2020, the design and creation suites were no longer able to be renewed. So they've been end of life and they can't be renewed. From February 2020, sales of new licenses and renewals of existing licenses for 2- and 3-year multi-use subscriptions were end of life and no longer available as well. And then in August 2020, 1-year multi-user subscriptions were no longer allowed to be sold as well. So new licenses in that regard. From May 7, 2021, this year, renewal of maintenance plans is no longer allowed and single user maintenance to subscription sales are no longer allowed. So those 2 policies have finished as well. Upcoming changes for next year, August 7, extra territory rights will cease and cannot be further renewed, and subscriptions with multi-user or network access will be retired and cannot be further renewed as well. So that's really the last date to be able to renew any multi-user or network licenses for your end customers. And then August 7, 2023 is when the multi-user trade-in offer will no longer be available. So anyone that wants to take advantage of the 2-for-1 trade-in offer must do so prior to August 7, 2023. So still a bit of time to go yet, but it's always good to plan, especially when you have some customers that might be on 3-year subscription terms. One of the recent changes which we're finding is of great benefit at the moment. Previously, if you did not take the multi-user 2-for-1 trade-in offer at your first renewal opportunity, you lost the ability to do that at any further renewal opportunities. They've since changed that policy now, so you're actually able to take the 2-for-1 trade-in offer at any renewal opportunity up until the 7th of August 2023. So that's quite a significant change, and there may have been a number of customers that didn't take the 2-for-1 trade-in offer on their first renewal option. With this policy change, they'll definitely now be able to take advantage of that 2-for-1 trade-in if they still have existing multi-user or network-based licensing. So that's probably one of the biggest questions we've had is, can they renew it at a later date and take advantage of the program? The answer is now yes, they certainly can. So we're finding that to be a great advantage for everyone. All right, so two of the most frequent questions we get is, how do I access my Autodesk software? And around the premium plan, how to capture the right amount of information. So we're going to take you through I suppose an overview of the accessing of the software in the premium plan. And we've got a couple of cheat sheets that we've put together as well, which will pop up, but we'll also send out after the meeting so everyone has a copy as well. I'm going to hand over to Alison now to talk us through how do we access the Autodesk software once it's been purchased. Thanks, Alison.
Thanks, Jason. So here we are looking at how to access the Autodesk software. So in the past, customers have activated their software by entering their serial number and product key. Now, although customers are given this information in an email from Autodesk when they purchase their new license, they actually don't need these details for activation. With the shift to a named user subscription model, all new licenses are now activated by simply signing into their Autodesk account. On the right here, we've listed some common terms you need to be aware of. First here is contract manager. Now, this is the person registered in the Autodesk system who is responsible for managing the licenses. This person will need to assign the licenses to a user before they can actually download, install, and activate the software. The second term here is named user. Now, under the named user subscription model, each license is individually assigned to a named user. This is done by the contract manager. Once a license has been assigned to a named user, they will receive an Autodesk email invitation with a link to create or to log into their Autodesk account. So once they are signed into their Autodesk account, they can download, install, and activate their software. Now, in some cases, the contract manager and the named user of the software is the same person, but for much larger companies, they'll be different. So that's just something to be aware of. Jason, if you can just pull up the next page, the one-pager. So this is the guide Jason mentioned. It covers everything I've just talked about. This is something you can send out to your end customers to help them get up and running. We'll be sending this out to you all after the webinar. Back to you, Jace.
Thanks, Alison. All right, so we're talking about premium plan next. Premium plan is essentially Autodesk's enhanced service level. So when you buy software, everyone receives the standard support, but for people that have, for organizations that have in excess of 50 eligible Autodesk licenses, they can also take advantage of the premium plan. The premium plan delivers a number of benefits to an organization. The first one being single sign-on. So instead of having to have everyone log in, they can use a single sign-on methodology if their company employs it to be able to access the software. It also creates product usage reporting down to the user level. Standard support provides product usage reporting, but it doesn't take it down to the user level. So this enhanced service from Premium Plan takes it down to the user level. There's also 24/7 live support through their chat and email system, and it also enables centralized purchasing. So we mentioned one of the changes coming up in the 2-for-1 transition to named user program is the ceasing of ETRs, extraterritorial rights, in August 7 next year. Premium Plan will essentially allow organisations to purchase on behalf of other organisations in different geographies if they need to. Now, some of the things that you need to be aware of with Premium Plan, as I said, it has to be for a minimum of 50 eligible licenses, and it's also sold on a one-to-one basis for eligible single user licenses. So ineligible licenses include multi-user and network licenses, maintenance licenses, and Autodesk construction services such as BIM 360 product family, PlanGrid and Building Connected, and also the Shotgun product set. So what I mean by it's sold on a one-to-one basis, we'll go through the terms on the right first, and then I'll come back to that. We have a number of, I suppose, roles in the Autodesk system. In relation to the Premium Plan, the primary administrator is the role that we're really looking for here. So the primary administrator essentially manages users and their license access to products. They can assign secondary admins and SSO admins. They can manage the billing and renewal if they're also the contract manager, and they can manage the single sign-on. There can only be one primary administrator per team. Now, a primary administrator may well have a number of teams that sit under them. So there might be, say, 6 teams, and it might be, New South Wales, ACT, Queensland, etc. And each team obviously has its own users assigned to them. Every eligible license that sits under that primary administrator has to have a license assigned for Premium Plan as well. So you can't just pick and choose and say, I only want these 52 people. If there's 70 people sitting under that primary administrator, then all 70 have to take the Premium Plan. So as I said, it's on a one-to-one basis. We talked about the contract manager in the previous one. So the contract manager is different to the primary administrator. There is one contract manager per contract, but a contract manager can sit across multiple contracts. They also assign licenses to end users, and they receive all the notifications around renewals and upcoming renewals and post-renewals. If you change the contract manager, it does not change the primary admin and vice versa. So they are individual roles that aren't associated with each other. When we're looking at either quoting or ordering for the Premium Plan, there's a number of pieces of information that we need to get. Primary administrator is obviously one of them, and their email address, the number of teams that sit under that primary administrator, the number of eligible licenses per team, taking into account that their minimum of 50 licenses is required. Obviously, is it a 1-year or a 3-year? Now, some of the nuances for Premium Plan are that we have to have an order for every team. So if there is, as I said, 6 teams and each team has 20 people, then the order would be 6 lines with a quantity of 20 per line. The other nuance is that there needs to be a contract of at least an equal term to the new Premium Plan. So if you're buying a 1-year Premium Plan subscription, there needs to be another contract that has either an equal or greater term within that contracts that sit under the primary administrator. If there's no contracts that are of a 1-year term, then what you would do is co-term one of those contracts to be the same date as the Premium Plan contract. So Premium Plan will actually create a new contract and sit on its own contract. It can't be added to separate contracts or pre-existing contracts. It also can't be prorated as well, so it has to be full term. So what we've done is we've put together a cheat sheet for that as well, and we'll send this out, as I said, to everyone once the session is finished. In the cheat sheet, we've just gone through obviously some of the benefits that you can tell your customers about it, some of the guides around the nuances of premium plan and some of the things that we need to collect. And then we've obviously got a checklist here just to make sure that we've got the required information when you're sending through a quote request or an order. So there's a fair bit of information there. Definitely like to see if there's any questions coming through. All right, just having a look at some of the questions that have been typed in. All right, so we have a question. Is it possible to nominate a coterm date? All right, so with coterm, the contract can only be cotermed to an existing contract. So you can't just pick a date and say, I want to have my contracts all termed to the 28th of September. You can only pick a date for an existing contract that the customer has, an existing active contract that the customer has, and then you can coterm everything to that if you wish to. You don't have to coterm every contract under that customer, but you definitely have to have one contract date that is an existing contract to coterm to. We have another question. With the 50 subscription minimum for premium plan, is there any plans to change that at any time? I've spoken to a lot of customers with 20 to 50 that really want to access it. At this point, we haven't had any indication that they're going to reduce the number of the minimum number of subscriptions for the premium plan. We'll definitely take that question to Autodesk and see what they say. It's interesting that the requirement is 50 in the initial purchase. Now, when you get to the term length, then there's obviously a true up or a true down process in regards to that. So at that point, I'm not sure whether you could drop below 50. We would have to check that. But yeah, we'll definitely take that question back to Autodesk and see if there are any plans. It's good feedback to get that the customers are saying they want to access it at a lower level. We've got another question. So we have to purchase other assets to get a different key date. I'm not quite sure what we mean by different key date. Are you able to expand on that a little bit? If it's in relation to the premium plan and having a contract of a minimum term equal to the new premium plan term, then you would extend an existing contract to be of the same contract end date. So you don't have to purchase new assets. You can simply extend an existing contract. But if it's something different, all right, so to coterm to a different date, we would need assets expiring on that date. So that's correct, yeah. So as I said, with coterm, you have to make sure that an existing contract has the date you want to coterm to. You can't just pick a random date and say, well, we want to do it 1st of July because that's the beginning of the new financial year. An existing contract has to exist with that date on it already. Good question, thanks, Andrew. Do we have any other questions? All right, so we've got a question from Andrew. Previously, Autodesk allowed client to nominate a date for budgetary reasons. I'm not aware of that. Alison, is there something you can shed light on there?
Yeah, previously Autodesk did allow to nominate a date for budgetary reasons. I believe that they do this under special circumstances still, but it wouldn't be through the normal process where you could just coterm without any special approvals. I believe you'd need to get a special approval to do that for budgetary reasons first before quoting and processing that order. But we can definitely confirm that and get back to you.
So is that for new subscriptions or renewals, Alison, in the past?
I believe both.
All right. Thanks,
yeah.
Andrew. We'll come back to you on that one. We'll clarify that with Autodesk as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alison. All right, let's give it another minute to see if anyone else has any questions. At any time, obviously, you can reach out to Alison, Misha, and myself if you do have questions about Autodesk, or, whether it be quoting, ordering, or supporting your end customers. We're definitely here to make your life easier in selling Autodesk, and certainly if we don't know, we'll definitely take it back to Autodesk and get a definite answer for you. Our lives for the three of us are pretty much entrained in Autodesk 7 days or 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And there's often a lot of the times that the policies that they send out that we need to seek clarification on as well. So it's not always as straightforward as we would like. And we're definitely here to help you navigate those policies and those questions and get answers as quick as possible so that you're able to go back to your customers and service them to a high degree. All right, so we've got no more questions coming in. I'll thank everyone for their time. We'll give a bit of time back in your day. As I said, the session today has been recorded, so we'll send out a link to the recording. We'll send out a copy of the deck you've seen today, and we'll also send out some PDFs that we've shown as well. Feel free to use those PDFs, and for the how to access my software one, feel free to send that out to your end customers. If you're looking to get a Word version of that so you can add your own logos and all that in, just drop me an email and I'll send you a Word version that you can edit and add your own logos to if you wish to as well. So thanks again everyone for your time and your questions. And as I said, if you do have any questions at all, please feel to reach out to anyone on the team, and we'll endeavour to get an answer back as quick as possible for you. So everyone stay safe and enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thank you very much.